Welcome to this video, which is going to be hugely spoilery for the entire trilogy of Red Rising. So if you haven't read those books, I would highly suggest that you do so. They are very enjoyable, even if the things that I'm going to be talking about in this video really fucking annoyed me. Okay, let's get started. I would argue that one of the strongest parts in the Red Rising series, and the thing that I enjoyed the most, is the relationships between the main character Darrow and the other minor characters. Cassius, Severo, Tactus, Rogue, Victra, and Mustang. These characters are pivotal to showing all of the different ways that the Golds react to Darrow's revolution. Because they are so important, it's important that they are treated with care by the author, which he very much succeeds in, showing the different nuances, giving us the steps throughout their relationships, showing a realistic progression. Except for Mustang in the third book. The third book in Red Rising does the classic, we can't let the main couple get together until the very end or the reader would stop reading, and we can't have that. I hate this. I hate this with a fiery passion because it is lazy writing and it always leads to stalling. In book one, it made very good sense that Mustang and Darrow didn't just get together right away. After all, Darrow was getting over Eo's death. He was traumatized, he was getting used to this whole world. He didn't necessarily trust Mustang until the very end, so it made a lot of sense. And the same with Mustang, she was also getting to know him and figuring out that he was actually different from the other guys, and finally deciding to betray her own brother for Darrow's sake. In book two, it again makes sense that they are not together anymore. We know that they were together during some of the time between book one and book two, but then broke up. And as book two progresses and things get more tense and finally this revolution sort of is about to begin and Darrow is making his moves, it makes sense that Darrow is withdrawing from her because he knows that he's going to betray her. He knows that his end goal is to betray and kill her father, which he doesn't believe that she will ever forgive him for, so he feels that it would be a betrayal to even start this relationship with her, which again makes a lot of sense. But book two was all about him learning that he should open up to his friends. Again and again, he was punished for not opening up to his friends, leading to his friends stopped trusting him and felt like they were discarded by him. And finally, he lies at the bottom of this lake. He believes he's about to die, and he has that moment of, oh my God, I should have told Mustang. I should have told her everything. And then he does. By the end of book two, he tells her everything, and Mustang is understandably taken aback by this, especially because Darrow doesn't exactly tell her in the best manner, which is, that's on Darrow. And so book two ends up on this cliffhanger where we don't know how Mustang reacted, and then Darrow is taken prisoner and a bunch of people are killed. So it makes sense that they aren't together in book one and two. But book two ended with this whole live while you can, tell people the truth sort of theme. So you would think that would carry over into book three. So he gets captured and he is kept prisoner and tortured, and in this little hole, this little box that he's in, he doesn't know if she survived, he doesn't know if she has joined the Golds, he doesn't know if she would have eventually joined him. He thinks about her, he regrets how things went down between them, and as soon as he's freed, as soon as he is back with the rebellion, he is like, tell Mustang I am back. Tell her I want to meet her and talk with her and convince her. That is like one of the very first things that he does. And so we have all kinds of stuff happening, which eventually leads to them meeting again. And the moment that he sees Mustang again, his mind goes to like this place of, oh my God, there she is, Mustang. What side is she on? I can't kill her. What is going to happen? Trauma inside his head, and it's wonderful. And then you have this moment where he is going to fly down to the pole in order to find those, are they grays? Obsidians. To get the obsidians to their side, and Mustang stops them. This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the moment where these two pivotal characters who have such a great dynamic, who have had so many interesting conversations throughout the story, both on a personal level and on a more philosophical level, they are brought back together. They are about to be reunited, and they are about to become the power couple that we knew that they would always become, and we know that once they are together, nobody can stand in their way, right? No. Wrong. Fuck you. It should be noted that at this point, Carvex has told him that Mustang would basically have joined him, given enough time to think about things if that whole betrayal at the end of book 2 hadn't happened. So at this point, Darrow knows that Mustang never meant to betray him, and that she always meant to join the rebellion and support him. So what does he do when he meets Mustang? He is gruff with her and rejects her and is just, in general, really douchebaggy to her. And this is not played off as like he does not know how to react to her, he doesn't know how to be vulnerable, so he ends up doing the opposite. That's not how it's played out. It's more played out like, I don't know if I can trust her. And it's like, dude, you can trust her. She has proven throughout book 1 and 2 that you can trust her, and with the things that she's doing right now. But okay, whatever, we accept it. They go to the pole, they are looking for the obsidians, and even though there's a bunch of time here where they could technically talk together, they are in a very dangerous situation. So throughout those next days, I'm like, okay, fine, they're not having their big moment right now. But then they went over the Valkyries, and 7 days pass. It just says 7 days pass, and then they go back to the rebellion. I do not believe that they do not talk during those 7 days. It sounds like they had plenty of time to work shit out. But okay, they're not ready to talk yet. I guess they're waiting for like calm moments. So they go to where the rebellion is, and Mustang tells him, come find me when you're done, when you've had your little meeting. Fine. He goes, has his little meeting, and then he goes and finds her, and she is hanging out with his family, having a swell time, telling embarrassing stories about him. It's all great. And then he sits down, and you're like, yeah, we can really feel how Mustang and him just belong together, and their families are merging. And then the scene ends just when they're about to be alone. What happened? Did they talk? What happened between them? At this point, I was starting to realize that the author was doing this thing of avoiding letting them actually have a conversation, because if you were going to let them have a calm conversation together, they would figure things out. That's just, like, that's how they would work. That was what happened in book 2, like, after all of the crazy stuff that happens at the beginning, when they finally have a moment to sit down in the cantina together, they talk, and they figure their shit out. That is who they are. So, of course, the author can't allow them to talk, and that is the worst kind of conflict you can come up with. But it gets worse, because they then spend months flying to Jupiter, and we don't see that journey. But don't tell me nobody went knocking on each other's doors, trying to, stick it somewhere while they were on the fucking spaceship. Especially because we cut directly to a scene where they are having political discussions with these people on Jupiter, or Jupiter's moons. Whatever, that's not important for this video. And we sense from that scene that they have very clearly, Mustang and Darrow, discussed tactics. They have a plan. So they have been alone in a room together discussing tactics, but still not their whole thing. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch how the author handles all of the other major relationships with such elegance and balance, and allowing them to have their moments when they are necessary. And then this relationship is just stalling, and it's not going anywhere. Instead of letting them be the power couple that we know they could be, they are just kept apart because reasons. We can't let them be together yet. All right. Then we have the battle, and they suddenly kiss, and you're like, what just happened? Okay, they kissed. Okay, so you go into the battle, and you're like, they're definitely going to talk about that kiss after the battle, right? Because that whole moment is Mustang being like, don't die, we have so much to live for, we need to move forward. And then you go into the battle, and the battle is really awesome, and then it ends. And then 7 days pass with Victra, Victra chasing her sister. 7 days, and they go there and they have this whole talk about what to do with the sister and blah 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 blah, and you're like, 7 days. At this point, I'm confused. I'm like, what is the relationship between Mustang and Darrow like? I have no clue because I'm not seeing the scenes between them. And I just find it jarring and strange that they're not talking about a fucking kiss. And they're supposed to be grown-ups at this point, but they were much more adult about their relationship in book 1 and book 2. Way more adult. Then we have that whole big riot thing. Cassius almost get hanged and Severo saves the day. And there's a moment there where Darrow is like, what about Mustang? Is she going to be attacked too because she's a gold? And you would think that that moment would have like this, oh my god, I didn't talk with her. I really need to fucking get to that conversation that I have been postponing for like a year now. No! No! After this ordeal, Victra proposes to Severo, and then you would think, oh, your friends are getting married. This is really an occasion to think about what do you want with your life? Who do you want to be with? But no, let's not talk about things. Let's not talk about things when Daxus tells him that basically Mustang loves you. You know that, right? And Mustang is dancing and you're like, this is the moment. This is the moment where Darrow goes over and he dances with her and he teaches her to dance like a red. But then, the Jackal calls and Darrow goes to have a Zoom call with him and they talk. And then Mustang shows up and you're like, what will happen? And they talk with the Jackal and the Zoom meeting ends and you think, now they're going to talk. But then Darrow just says some, we have too much to live for, and they kiss and that's that. It's so weird. It's so weird. Like, you really postponed it throughout the entire story for that moment. Such a disappointing moment with all of that build-up, with all of those negated conversations that we didn't have. I don't know what the fuck was going on with this stuff. There is an idea that every story must have a romance. And if there's a romance, they can't get together until the very end. Because once they're together, the story ends, right? Which is just not how relationships work. But in either way, this is not a romance novel. This is a story about a rebellion. This is a story about Darrow and his friendships and his relationship with the people around him. And it would have made so much sense if he and Mustang had become this dynamic duo, like after they unite on the ice, and from that point forward would really work together and talk things out. And even if they had conflicts, they would be able to compartmentalize that, put that aside and be like, all right, that's our private lives. We are also commanders and we need to work together as allies, even if we don't agree on personal grounds. That would have been so interesting and it would have been the natural next step in their relationship. But instead, it was just thrown under the carpet again and again and again, which was just lazy writing. As I said in the beginning, a big part of these books is the relationship between Darrow and other characters. And Mustang isn't just a love interest. She is his friend. And she is his counterpoint, his foil, the person who pushes him. So cutting her out of the story in this way and not allowing them to have the conversations that they need to have really undercuts the story and undercuts Darrow's growth. And it's very, very sad to watch. Let me scream it out loud. I will not stop reading a book just because the characters get together. In fact, I may love the story more. Rand over.